Welcome to Let Me Know How It Is, a pop culture podcast about TV, movies, comics, and all things geek. In today's episode, we talk relationships, the good ones and the bad ones from the world of pop culture. Thanks for listening. All right, with Valentine's Day coming, this is your quick reminder to get your significant other some flowers or candy or a card. But anyway, we thought in the spirit of V-Day, we're going to look at some of the relationships from TV, movies, comics. I'm Zach Slater.
I'm Frank Melman.
This is Tommy Smithereens.
And I'm Clifton.
All right, so we're going to talk good and bad. We'll just kind of go back and forth, good one, then a bad one, then a good one, then a bad one. Hopefully we have an even number. We'll see. Tommy, you want to start us off? What's one that you liked?
Well, I was going to do the number one glaring one, which everyone thought of immediately upon the subject matter, which was Superman and Lois Lane. But after careful consideration and thinking of other choices, whenever they put an alien with a person or a human, it's always good.
Okay.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Like Mork and Mindy.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Mork and Mindy. Great
You
example.
can't go wrong.
Yeah. If it's a person and an alien, it'll always work.
Right.
Unless you're Sigourney Weaver.
Well, eventually she did too. If you look at the fourth one,
It's true.
they shipped her with a xenomorph and she was kissing on him.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a creepy
Wow.
movie.
I never saw the fourth one. I'm not gonna.
Nah,
I'm not gonna now. It sounds weird.
It's all
it's
right.
extremely weird, but it happened.
It's nobody's best work.
No, it's not. Like Avatar. He's a human.
Oh, yeah. Man, you're right.
Look for it.
I'm trying to think of an instance where
It did not go well in V, as we discussed in our
No.
episode that covered V. That
it's
one
hard-
did not go well.
Well, it's hard
That's
to fall in
true.
love with food. That's a whole nother thing, you know.
But you're talking about like the focal point being he or she's an alien and he or she's a human, and you put them together and
Wacky hijinks ensues.
Okay.
You're gonna ship them. You're gonna love them. Like
Okay.
Steven Universe, Greg Universe, and Rose Quartz. They made Steven.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's another good one. Yeah.
Man, that's a whole
No.
subgenre.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. Other than V, I don't have a single example of it not going well.
Tommy, why wasn't that our topic? Why didn't you say at the beginning we would change the topic completely?
Oh, I thought it'd be a nice surprise as to have it occurring.
It is. Now it's just this, thought grenade going off
Yep.
in my head.
Exactly.
We're all racking our brains right now. Wow.
There's got to be
Yeah.
one that doesn't
He's-
work. There's got to be one.
Yeah.
He's got all of us in the first minute.
Right. Yeah.
He's right.
I mean, if you dig deep enough, but off the break, I think Gamora and Star-Lord, that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
To a
All right,
point.
but okay, so go back to Lois and Superman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why do you like this one? Because I like this one too. I love this one actually. But
Because at the heart of it, they liked each other for who they are and what they stand for.
yeah.
They know enough about each other's personalities that this is the person for me. I love what they do and what they want to be, and I want to be a part of that. It just works.
There's a sweetness to it.
Yes.
I like that he's with Immortal.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Immortal's the love of his life.
Well, it also helps that he doesn't think he's godlike in a sense,
True. It definitely helps ground him.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
And there's not, I don't mean that in a punny way. I mean, just in the general that he doesn't, other characters have that whole bit of like, you're my anchor or you're my whatever, but it's a very unspoken kind of like, I mean, we have those moments with him, obviously, where he, confides in her or they talk things out or, she helps him see things in a better way. That's one thing that I always like about their relationship is that she just, she kind of cuts through the nonsense for him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's never, what I also love about Lois is there's never a moment where it's so outlandish, the situation. Like she never reacts in a way that is panicky. Like I always love that Lois is very much like, no, we got this. Like you're Superman. You've got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after we get past like, the initial, decades of trying to find out his identity and or marry him. That was all that she did for a while.
Right.
But once you get you could argue the Bronze Age of 70s stuff where it's kind of like, she and Superman sort of break up and he's, the TV reporter at WGBS. to like Byrne stuff, where it's basically at that point, when Byrne does Man of Steel into the Superman #1 after Crisis or around Crisis, you get that moment of like it starts to become kind of a more of a mutual respect thing. They definitely play around with the idea of it being more of, it's not quite so, she finds good things in Clark, but she also finds good things in Superman after that.
Yeah. Question for you, Frank, really quick. So was Man of Steel the first time that they had introduced the idea that Lois and Lex were in a relationship at some point, or does that predate the Byrne stuff?
I would say it's, other than like maybe an imaginary story or like right, one of those type things. I don't think, because I think there's plenty of like with old Action and old Superman comics, there were plenty of those imaginary stories in the 50s and stuff, and they still did them every once in a while. But I think even in her own, like when she had her own book, because this ain't like Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, I think there were even those like, what happened if I marry Lex instead of, but I don't think they really like emphatically said, yeah, they had some sort of, or he was, chasing her at one point, or they were dating a little bit, like quite like with Burns.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it really happened before that.
Got it.
And even then, it was still the idea of he was way more into her than vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And it never seemed like more like they had like a dinner or two, and she was kind of like, this guy's a blowhard.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's more like businessman Lex as opposed to evil, crazy scientist ranting in his prison graves at how he's going to stop whoever. that just didn't happen in Byrne's Superman stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it happens before there.
Yeah, one of my favorite bits ever with the two of them. It's a small bit. It's from New Frontier, and it's the moment like after like the center like kicks the crap out of Superman and shocks everybody, and he gets knocked into the water, and then later on like Aquaman comes out. They all think Superman's dead, and Aquaman comes out and they've kind of nursed him back to health in Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, which one is Lois Lane? This one's been asking about her, like,
right.
Repeatedly. Yeah, I love that bit.
It's a good bit.
Or like in a quasi, like on his deathbed, like that's the person he's thinking about constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Superman. I love Lois.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like even like what's the Jeff Loeb line that they had between them? The beef bourguignon with ketchup. Is that the one from Loeb stuff? Where they sort of had like a phrase that let them, they were able to like, that was their way of knowing, their shorthand of knowing what they were talking about stuff, about Superman stuff, or I can't remember exactly but I remember that was there was like this.
I don't know this one.
Okay. Yeah. There was during when Loeb was writing, I think it was Adventures of Superman. Mid 90s. That was one of the ones where it's kind of like, it was kind of like I said, it was a shorthand or something that they needed to talk about that was Superman related when it was Lois and Clark, so that they wouldn't, just start talking about Superman stuff out in the open, or it was a way for them to basically be, let them know that they were, kind of like recenter things for them. Nobody knows this? No one knows what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm just talking crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't recall this one either.
Yeah,
okay.
When you said Loeb, I was thinking For All Seasons, and then
right
as you were talking, that's when it hit me. I'm like, oh no, he was on the monthly for a little while after that, like in whatever 98, 99,
right, yeah,
something like that. No, that sounds cool though.
Yeah, it was definitely like they had some cool relations but you also had weird relationshipy stuff. Like at one point, there's an issue where, it looks like it's something like that was like they're thinking about it. The idea of Lex and her together. There's an issue in that time where it looks like Lex might be, or she might be cheating on Clark, and it's some kind of weird. It's some kind of weird plot where Parasite is somehow pretending to be Lois.
Oh,
yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, it was.
That's some hijinks.
Yeah, it was a little odd. I'm not going to say it wasn't odd, but like I said, that was one of the things I liked about their relationship, was just the fact that they had that sort of like, like couple shorthand, like you have, in a relationship.
Yeah. All right. So what's what's a bad one then? What's our first bad one?
Well, if we're talking Superman, I've got one.
I knew it. I knew it.
So
it's coming in hot.
Let me set you up a little better.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So now that we've done a good one with Superman, does anyone have a bad one with Superman?
I have one.
Yes,
Let me.
All right, Frank.
I never thought that it was a good idea to pair Superman with Wonder Woman out of New 52.
Mhm.
Why?
Well, again, it's one of those. Granted, you had that sort of in various places, I'm sure, throughout DC, but at one place more recent than others. And still, when I say more recent, it's not that, it's not that recent. But Kingdom Come, they sort of, tease that idea of the two of them together, and they do it in New 52, and then they sort of push Lois aside, and they change a lot of things, and it just felt like, I think we talked about at the time, Zach, the idea that it felt like someone just looked at their action figures and like, well, why shouldn't they be together? They're the two most powerful members of the team.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just put them together. And I don't, it's not one of those things where I don't really understand the logic behind it, other than obviously somebody creatively wanted to see it done.
I know that they're out there. I know that people do ship them, and because I remember, on one of the Justice League special features, right, when they're talking about like making the show and everything like that, like the moderator in one of these special features, like interview with the producers and everything, had said that there was a lot of people that thought they were like hinting at a love thing between Superman and Wonder Woman, and then like I remember Bruce Timm like visibly gets like, ugh. Like, but why? Like, why would they think that? Like,
right.
Like,
well, yeah,
he's going to be with Lois.
Right, of course. Well, that's the thing. I mean, they don't, now that you think about it, I'm trying to think, is there any moment in Superman, the animated series, where they hint at anyone else? Did they even play up anyone?
For Superman?
For Superman or Clark.
Besides Lana?
Right. I mean, they've got the history with Lana that they present.
Right, because they have, there's a Legion episode and there's other stuff.
Yeah.
I know that one, but it's one of those, I'm like saying, besides, like, there's no Lori Lamaris episode, right?
No.
And there's no...
should have been.
Of course. Absolutely. Well, it should have been when they introduced the Miguel Ferrer voiced Aquaman.
Yeah.
Ooh. No, I was thinking about what's her name with the M. I always wanted to fight him.
Oh, Maxima?
Yeah, Maxima. Yeah, I was thinking Maxima. Yeah.
Yeah, the Warrior Queen episode.
Yes.
That's always a fun one.
Yeah, it's a fun episode.
It's weirdly like an antithesis to Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, that's her whole bit. Like when she starts introduced in the I want to say it's when Dan Jurgens was doing the same thing, Adventures of Superman. I want to say that he was
that
the one
sounds right.
that he introduced Maxima as, like, she's coming to Earth. She's a conqueror. And she's looking for someone that's on her level to mate with.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's looking for a mate.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have one that they didn't use.
Okay.
So if you guys haven't watched Superman the animated series, do so.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right.
It's great. But and I will spoil the finale here a little bit if you, so if you're weary of that, turn off now. So one of the things that they talked about in the Legacy episode, right, when he's under Darkseid's control, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that they had talked about was him and Lashina having a baby.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it ended up getting dropped. And I think that there was some talk of maybe like in Batman Beyond, like the kid showing up.
Uh-huh.
It's never happened, but
right.
It's interesting though. I mean,
it is weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also if you've ever read John Byrne's run in Action Comics.
Oh.
Or not an Action comic. It's what he was doing. It's basically it was almost like DC Comics Presents, but it was an action. And it's the issue with Big Barda.
Yeah.
And they did this thing where it's Big Barda, and there was this character literally called Sleaze.
Yeah, this is an infamous issue.
Right. It's another John Byrne infamous issue of Superman stuff where basically Superman and Barda are basically kind of like hypnotized or under his influence of Sleaze.
And starting to have memories come back about this.
And they're about to shoot a low budget X-rated movie in this issue before they sort of snap out of it, which is always kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
For it to have happened.
Yeah.
So
But I was gonna say, but the other one with Lashina and Superman, it screams another plot. You know that, right?
What do you mean?
Which one?
Superman having a kid with an enemy, and the kid comes back grown. That don't remind you of anybody? All right, here's a big hint: Damian Wayne.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah, but this predates that though.
Yeah, but that's what makes it funny.
Right.
That didn't work, but this does.
Well, sort of. It doesn't predate Son of the Demon, but it does predate the Morrison bringing him as a child.
Yeah, rebooting the idea and using it. Yeah, no, I agree. I was about to say the same thing. But no, I just think it's a weird idea that they were, especially in a Saturday morning cartoon kids show, they were going to say, oh, yeah, by the way, while he was under the influence of Darkseid, he shacked up with Lashina and they have a kid.
Here's a child.
Yeah. Here's a super
Ta-da.
baby. Yeah.
Now, going back to Superman and Wonder Woman specifically, like what always rubbed me the wrong way about it is I feel like it didn't work for either of them. It didn't work for Wonder Woman and it didn't work for Superman for the same reason that I think they both need that attachment to
humanity,
normalness that Superman gets through Lois Lane and Wonder Woman gets through Steve Trevor and other characters. And I think they both need that. Then thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know why it doesn't work for them and it does work for other people, because we see superpowered people together as relationships all the time that work. So I don't know what it is just about Superman and Wonder Woman that I feel like they need that connection to humanity, like Tommy just said, but they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think they do.
I think it's Lois. I think it's that Lois and Superman is so drilled into our head for 70 years.
Right.
And it's so and it just works always. And it's never bad. I think honestly that's part of it.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is, I just remember this was it's around Action Comics 600 again, where Byrne was still working on it and George Perez was doing Wonder Woman. You start to have this thing of ever since Legends, he's, because that's where they reintroduced Wonder Woman at that point is Legends. Clark is having thoughts and dreams about Wonder Woman. Cause again, they're the idea of putting them together was, I guess, something they at least kicked around. And they meet, and the first time they meet, he just steps up and kisses her, and she's like, "What?" Kind of what are you doing? And then they team up against Darkseid, and I think Ares, I believe, is what the two villains are for that arc. But yeah, it was just a bizarre kind of, she's kind of no, I'm good. I just wanted to, we should meet, and this is before, because at that point it's Giffen and DeMatteis' Justice League, so they're not a part of that. So again, since it's after Crisis, it's a reintroduction of the two characters meeting for the first time. So, but even then, I guess they thought, nah, not really what we want to do.
Right.
So,
I will say that I think it works in Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
I think given that setup that he was with Lois for many, many years. They were married and she ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then he ends up with her in old age. I think I don't have the issue with it there.
Right. No, I think it works fine there.
Yeah. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm not a fan.
No.
All right. Any more Supermans? Okay. So concludes the Superman portion of our show. What's another good one then? What's another good relationship?
Oh, if we're gonna stay in comics, I love Green Arrow and Black Canary.
Sure. Okay.
In which you get two earnest crime fighters, no powers, just doing the best they can in the world around them. And she's clearly better than him.
Yeah.
Except financially.
Right.
That I like it because she keeps him honest in a weird sense, or that she's just a better person in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think she keeps him alive also is the thing. Right? I love Ollie, but I also love that he's not as polished as the rest of them, and that's the charm of the character for me. And I like that Black Canary is always super polished.
Yeah, the leader, perfect leader, born fighter. I mean, he comes from good stock or great legacy, or her mother's larger than life World War II hero. I mean, the list goes on and on with how great Black Canary is.
Right.
But then you get to Ollie. Ollie's he's good, but he's not as good as Batman.
Right.
He's an archer, but not as good as even his nemesis.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is that depending on when you're reading Ollie can also come off as Ollie's kind of all over the place.
Yes.
with relationships, he's with her, but he's kind of he's not anti the idea of stepping out either.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, not at all.
And it's one of those things where they don't really I don't know. The only thing about the two that I always thought was weird was I never really saw enough of her being what are you doing? Because you don't see her doing that.
No.
You don't see her, she doesn't have a lot of, there's not a lot of love interest other besides him, I don't think, in her stuff. I mean, there's a weird thing about her. At one point, they try to retcon the idea that they do some kind of weird, thing when she goes from Earth 2 to Earth 1, when she joins the Justice League, and then they try to retcon the idea of something about being her, partly being like having the memories of her mother or something weird. But but they don't ever really, there's no, as far as I know, she never really, like even her in like solo miniseries or anything, or even like Birds of Prey, it's never, there's anybody but Ollie. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's one of the things where there's not really, there's no real reckoning for him about the fact that he's, he's kind of swinging it all over the place at various times. Right. We always talk about, well, how Jordan would steal your girlfriend, but I think Ollie would take a shot at him too.
Right.
It'd be a worry if they were on, Ollie was with your gal on monitor duty. It would be, it'd be kind of like, oh, she's where with who? But yeah, that's the only thing about the two of them that I've never really understood, and it may have been addressed in something I didn't see. But and then they tried to marry them off in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but it was so short lived that no one saw it.
Right. Yeah, not a bad one. I like I like them as a classic couple. I think they're like if I'm thinking like strictly like Justice League Unlimited, I think they're fun to watch in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
No, they are. Yeah.
I think that couple I like quite a bit.
Okay.
All right. On to bad relationship. Break up. They need to break up. Who do we got?
I got one. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say Buffy and Angel.
Okay.
It's a bad one.
But wait, hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out.
Only because this was exactly like I was so interested to see if this would happen.
Okay.
To see if somebody had one on the bad list that someone else on the show would be like, no, I like that one. I was so curious about this, but okay.
Now fight.
We might, yeah.
It goes back to my whole thing with aliens and people.
Mm-hmm.
Vampires and people. Bad. Whenever you ship a vampire and a normal person, the path is doomed.
Well, you already said people in food shouldn't date.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I said it, because they're food. And it just gets so complicated. And it wrecks everything that it touches.
Mm-hmm. It works out okay in Twilight, your favorite movie.
Yeah, but they make her a vampire. That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
But as long as she's a human, it's crazy.
Okay, so what doesn't work about it for Buffy and Angel?
Well, one, he's 200 and she's 16.
Yeah, there's that.
It's that outlandish.
It's kind of tough to overlook that one.
Sure,
yeah.
There's that.
Under any
There's
circumstances.
that age difference.
Yeah, big one. Yeah.
It's just ill.
Well, he's young at heart. He's young at heart.
Oh, yeah, okay. But that's what that's what they force him to be.
I know. They try to make it look like that's that. What's the big deal?
And I'm sure he told her she has an old soul.
Right. Of course. You're very mature for your age, Buffy.
Well,
exactly.
But yeah. Vampires and humans, man.
He's immature and she changes him. She teaches him to grow up. He matures, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about it before that the whole speech with, in season 3 where Joyce basically says, just basically like, what are your long-term plans with my daughter kind of a speech.
Yeah. And he has no idea.
At 200 plus, he's like, I has no answer for her.
Yeah.
Which is very, again, very telling about the character that he doesn't really know, it's not really thought out. And his response is break up with her and then head to Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, to me, in my eyes, it's like he want to tell her mother I had no plans to marry her. That's basically what I see it as.
Yeah. Well, because I thought we might get into Buffy stuff because I was thinking, as much as I think it's probably a bad idea that they're together, I think it's even a worse idea that she's with Spike.
I agree.
I think wasn't it someone as in the geek culture, like I think Stacey Abrams said didn't she say that she preferred Spike to Angel?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
she did.
Yeah, she did.
Which, that's that to me, because for a while they were trying to play off Spike as like, oh, that's the guy you date in your 20s that you regret, and you think back when you're much older, like, why did I date that guy?
Mm-hmm.
But even when she was dating him, I was like, well, why are you with him in the first place?
Yeah, no, I agree. That relationship never made sense to me.
No, that was and there was stuff of like, oh, they were enamored with Marsters, James Marsters, the actor, and that's why he got to be around, because he was sort of, after all the stuff with the Initiative, he sort of gets defanged, and then he has the meta line about he doesn't chase around the other puppies anymore now that they basically neutered him, and he sort of becomes part of the gang and not really part of the gang, and then he gets the chip removed, and then he's full on Spike again. Yeah, I never got that relationship at all. I mean, never really made a lot of sense, and it just was kind of got kind of gross. not that being with Angel as a 200 or 200 plus year old guy with a 16-year-old wasn't bad enough. Let's make a guy even worse that she's with that's even 200 years old as well.
Interesting.
But it also, if we're just talking about that particular world, Angel and Buffy and all that stuff, I did think it was funny that they had, for a minute, they teased the same thing where it's not much better, the idea of Cordelia and Wesley early on.
Okay.
Yeah, that just seemed weird. Yeah.
Again, because while he's not a teenager, he's certainly not he's an adult at that point. He's not like he's like a junior watcher or something.
Yeah. Well, she's still in high school and he graduated college, That's
right. That was one of those of, it happens, but at the same time, to put it out there, like, to put that to have that be a focal point of like that season where it ends up going nowhere, and then for them to be on Angel together, and I think they get mentioned once.
Yes.
That there was a momentary attraction between the two of them, and it never went anywhere. But even though it's not mentioned that she was in high school at the time.
No, it's not.
Right.
They gloss over it really very quickly.
Yeah. So that one's kind of another one I thought, which was kind of like, that's a little odd.
Okay. So 3 bad ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need 3 good ones now.
So relationships were not the strong point on Angel or Buffy. Apparently.
No, it was more the angst of like, will they or won't they, or there was a lot of people crying and longing over people on that show.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It was more of a focal point to do that kind of stuff, because Angel, you have, I'll put it this way, there's definitely that with Wesley and Fred on Angel, where there's a lot of like, will they or won't they, and then it's angsty, and then it's just heartbreaking. So,
right. And early on, it was Xander and Willow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I didn't think about that, Frank. The fact that he moves from one high school to another high school, because isn't Buffy the same age as Cordelia?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's no different.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, like, if you don't, unless he's with somebody that's been around as long as he has, yeah, it's there's a certain amount of ick to it.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Willow and Tara though is like a high point.
Oh yeah,
it's just for that world though. Like as far as relationships go, right? Like,
oh yeah, no, that's a very sweet relationship, and again, as most things in that universe, enjoy it while you can, because it's going to end badly or heartbreaking.
Yeah. Good things don't last long in that universe.
No, right. Your couples. Happiness is fleeting on any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, that's a good relationship.
Yeah.
But overall, I think vampires and people. No, don't fall in love with your food. No, no.
That's a good rule of thumb.
All right, I lost track where we are. I think we're still on good. Let's do good.
Yeah, we're swinging back to good.
Let's do another good one.
Yeah.
Here's one I like. I like Scott and Ramona from Scott Pilgrim.
Okay.
Okay.
And I like Scott and Knives too. This is a weird thing, right?
Okay.
Like they, aside from the fact she's in high school and he's what, 23? Whatever it is.
They changed his age for the movie because he's a slightly older in the book. They changed his, I forget what, one's 23 and one's 22, I think.
Their interaction like works, I think, Scott and Knives, but what I like about him and Ramona, which I feel a little bit like maybe they're not quite as good a fit together, but I root for it and I love it because it's like it's the one thing that Scott doesn't take for granted.
Yeah.
Right? Is like his relationship with her. Like he tries everything to make it work, At least in the movie.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a that's the turning point, right? Is at least we believe in that moment that we've seen of his life where he's basically going to change and be somebody different, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, in that moment, I think it's one of those. But it could just be her. It could just be the fact that she is that important to him, and therefore he's going to change. But Clifton, you know more about this than I do.
Right. In the book, there's a point that wasn't in the movie. There's a point in the book where she leaves, where it's basically that she had always avoided problems, and that was part of her issue that she needed to grow up from, was that she would cut and run.
Right.
And there's a point in the book where like she takes off, and when they break up and she takes off, and it's kind of in the movie, like when she goes to Gideon, except that's not how it happens in the books. But it was at that point where they have some conflict, her and Scott. And so she leaves and goes to her father's, in some other town or suburbs. I can't remember where she goes off to. But like at one point, like Scott's, wallowing around for months basically and can't get over her. And then eventually they meet up. And I forget what the gag is, but it's something about where he's thinking like, she's had this epic adventure. And then you find out that she was just at her dad's house, sleeping on his couch playing video games for 2 months. And then everyone's like, oh, like you two are perfect for each other.
Right. That's a cool bit. That sounds neat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely like they are a good relationship because by the end, in the book and the movie, they both overcome. Like they both grow up from the things they need to grow up from and do so together. And I think is their good match. They're both kind of in the same point in life that Scott and Knives obviously were not. At the same points in lives, and that's a big part of the problem with that relationship, and that's also overtly in the story.
Yeah,
but that he meets somebody that is going through similar things, and then they can go through them together.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It works. I love it. I really root for them. So, all right, what else do we got?
What's a bad one?
What's a bad one?
All right, here's a bad one.
Okay,
Daredevil and Elektra. No, is that a bad one?
Okay.
I don't know. You're speaking.
Huh.
Tommy's conflicted on this one.
Are you okay? You're conflicted about it, which
Yes.
I like. I like this because I'm conflicted about a bunch of mine too. So this opens the door for that. But
yeah.
So you set it up as bad. So why don't you like it first? Let's try that.
It plays off the whole both of them have a secret life that they're hiding from the other, even though they have a good history and chemistry in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But they try to come together when really they shouldn't because they should focus on their personal lives as opposed to being in a relationship. It's like the worst time for both of them to be in a relationship.
Right.
But they choose to, even though secretly they're killing each other without even realizing it.
Yeah. They appear to be, there's no future with the two of them. And it's not just because she dies. It's
Right.
It's like, but they're not like, they're just about sex. Really,
Yes.
like it's just
Yes.
a passion relationship.
Yes.
Really, that's all it's based on, right?
I mean, but it wasn't. I mean, that's what I'm thinking back to Man Without Fear, the miniseries, the one that's the JR one with Miller, where it's you sort of get more of the idea that they were together, and she was sort of just, she had a father who was like some kind of shipping quote unquote magnate or whatever, when really he was tied up with mobsters and then he tries to step in and then kind of botches it or not botches it. And then she decides to dedicate herself to, contract killing.
Ninjutsu?
I guess. Yeah. The way of the ninja. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I always wondered, like, I know it's a prequel and prequels are always tough, but it's one of those things where I kind of always wondered about why she didn't blame Matt more for it. It didn't really, it always was kind of odd. I mean, I don't mind the idea of the two of them together, but I always feel like, and I don't think it's during Bendis's run. There's a moment where I think it's Elektra and Black Widow and who's the other woman? Somebody else I think that's super powered that's like in the same room at the same time, and they start talking about how messed up Matt is.
Right. Okay.
And how the idea of like being with him is just,
bad.
If you can it's just a bad idea. I mean, it's just bad all around. And if you can get past, you can't, there's all the Catholic guilt stuff. There's all the stuff with his dad. There's all the stuff about being Daredevil. Then there's the law that, he's sworn an oath to as well. There's all this stuff. The dude's got a lot of baggage, He
does. He's perpetually in turmoil.
Yeah, of course. He's always churned up about something, unless Mark Waid's writing him.
But there is an undeniable chemistry with each other though too.
Sure.
I mean, when I think about all the Daredevil's interesting, where like Batman, there's not really like a Superman Lois for them. Like there's multiple ones. There's like him and Karen. There's him and Elektra. There, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's him and Black Widow. There's so many of them. And yet, though, if I have to pick one of them as like who's Matt's love of his life, I do say it's Elektra.
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Well, what I think is funny is like when they introduced her into the Netflix series, I thought one thing I didn't like about her introduction was they hit it from pretty early on in her, like the flashback stuff, that she's off. Like she has no problem with the idea of like killing that dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where Matt has a moral objection to like, whoa, we're not just going to kill this guy because you're telling me we need to kill him. And that sort of splinters the two of them apart. But in the comic, like I said, there's a moment of, she wasn't always, she wasn't born into this. She's not Talia, you know what I mean? If we're looking at some kind of, comparison or archetype, she wasn't born in the League of Assassins. She was just a normal girl.
Right.
She's just living her life until she sees her father killed in front of her. So it's one of those things where I miss. That's one of the Netflix shows I thought made a mistake was you don't have a chance for her to see what Matt really saw in her.
Right. I think for me, what I think where they're going with it though is the idea that we know Karen has darkness in her past too, and which he doesn't know about yet. But we're on a trajectory of him ultimately learning that. I think had the show going on.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's why I think it's there.
Right. Yeah. But like I said, my thing is like, I think the comics do it, at least if I would lean, if I'm leaning towards which one worked a little better, I'd say the comics one, just because you do get a chance to see that. No, at one point it was, Matt could have taken that road and then not had been, could not have been, Daredevil, or was because he was at that point, he didn't have an identity. He's not, he's not wearing his costume or anything. He's still figuring it out.
Right.
But that's, it's an off ramp until that happens. And then her whole trajectory of life has changed as well.
Yeah.
So
I kind of liked him better with Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not from the show, the comics. Just because they both reached their limit or they're bottomed out and they still found each other.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Well, if we're doing the Superman Lois bitch, she's there from issue 1. So it's kind of hard to argue that she wasn't set up to be, the person he was supposed to be with. And then, as time went on, he was with other people.
And then Born Again happens.
Yeah, right. And then Frank Miller comes along and, brings Elektra, and it's totally different at that point.
But no, Karen's got some great bits too. I mean, like I love Daredevil Yellow. I mean, I think as an exploration of their relationship, you read that book and you're like, oh, no, he's in love with her.
That's the comic series by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Right.
Yeah.
From around 2003, 4, somewhere.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all kind of romantic books, I think. I'm getting mushy in the spirit of Valentine's Day. But they did a Spider-Man Blue book that was all about his relationship with Gwen, which I think is, it's very sweet, full of heart too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there romance in Hulk Gray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's him and Betty.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you were going to say it was Thunderbolt Ross in the pursuit of the Hulk. That was the story. It was a Captain Ahab story.
There you go.
That's a definite love. Yeah, he never gave up.
It's a little twisted, but still.
All right, but I have a conflicted one, I think, though, too. So I'm gonna go to the Ron Moore Battlestar Galactica stuff.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And what conflicts me about this is I love Starbuck and Apollo. Right? And that's the relationship I want. But
Sure.
Starbuck and Anders, who I like Anders a lot. And I've
Joe
never in my
Montana?
life rooted against the character I liked more than Anders. And conversely, it's kind of the same thing. We're I love Apollo. Apollo is one of my favorite characters on there too. And when he's with D, man, I hate Apollo.
Poor D.
Poor
D was perfect.
Yeah, he was so bad to her.
Oh,
Yes.
he's horrible to D.
Yeah, poor D. My gosh, poor D.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what category I put any of this in. It's just sort of like some of it feels good, some of it feels bad.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things about that show is just, despair is everywhere.
Yeah.
I think even with characters you love, I think there's a moment, again, talk about happiness is fleeting. That show doesn't give you much happiness either.
Yeah.
No.
Not for very long.
If Apollo and Starbuck could be together without hurting other people, then great. But that's not who they are. They'll hurt other people.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's just who they are.
Right.
And that's really like a thing about the show, which is, it's weirdly enjoyable to watch, even though I'm going to say this, but like characters let you down in that show.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of, a lot of frailty, which is one of the things that runs through that show is a lot of just, human failure on a lot of levels. It's a good one, but still,
I thought you were going to mention, Six and, is it Boltar?
Gaius Baltar?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to say. Six and Joey from Blossom.
No.
No.
Whoa. Is that one of your good examples?
Yeah, that's a great example.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that was a great example.
No.
I think it's Six.
Yeah. That's a good one. But it's also very much a half the time I wonder how much you get that thing of how much of it's really happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's it's kind of like, well, is it really happening, or is it just he's seeing some of this, or is it's a messed up relationship for sure. But yeah, I agree with you. The Apollo Starbuck, I still think of the one where they where it's kind of like it's very much losing the football, where Apollo thinks, all right, this is it, we're gonna get together.
Yeah.
And then no.
That's a great bit though.
Well, I mean, it's just the idea
that
of
scene is so awesome though.
I know, but it's also one of those things
where they're like literally like screaming their love for each other.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then it's one of those things of like, God, you just don't know her at all, do you?
Yep, I know, right?
It's like, how do you not know this woman after all this time?
Great show.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the muddy section, I think. Anybody else has any muddy ones? Actually, hang on. No, I kind of have a muddy one.
Okay, go ahead.
I kind of have another one.
Go ahead.
And I'm pulling out Batman Beyond here.
Okay.
And Clifton, you back me up on this because Clifton and I have talked about this all the time.
Right.
About this. It's not that I don't like Dana.
Right.
I do. I like Dana. But I do feel like that they don't do enough in the show to make me like her.
Yeah.
Right? And so when Melanie comes along, 10 from the Royal Flush Gang,
mm-hmm.
it's sort of like, it's kind of a Betty and Veronica thing where but they gave Veronica all the good stuff. They gave her all the good lines, all the good setup, all the right. Like Melanie has all the interesting, like she's got the darkness to her. She's a costume, character so she has that in common with Terry, right? But she's a bad guy, but she's a bad guy sort of because her family's bad guys, and that's sort of like it's the family business. It's what she's expected to do.
And she's morally conflicted about it, so she's not bad.
Yes.
She's only so bad.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you, and I was more annoyed by Dana in the past, and rewatching stuff my view on it is slightly changed. It's changed to the point where I don't think the relationship between Dana and Terry is good for either of them.
Right.
Because I'm like, from her angle, I'm like, he's giving her nothing.
No.
So I'm like, why is she there? Like, just go do something else better, girl.
No, but okay, I see the argument, but to me, I don't see it that way. I mean, okay, if Dana's already established with him as a couple, let's say they have history, right? Whatever they went through at the pursuit, they're together. But Terry is a jerk because he's keeping secrets from her. Right. And for her to hold out for so long, I think she's the better person.
But they never gave us any of that, so we don't see any justification for it in the show.
But I don't think we need justification. It's the union. At least the union is enough for me to think that she cares for him. But he doesn't care enough to trust her with his secrets.
Right.
So she's looked at as the bad guy. And then just because he's with the chick that has secrets as bad as him, that's okay, I don't care what you do, you're just with me now, is crazy. Because it's just exemplifying the bad that he's doing in the relationship with Dana. 10 is terrible for him.
I think we needed to see more. I think we as an audience needed to fall in love with Dana to see what Terry likes about her too.
And vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. I think they needed more good moments together.
It's almost like it's not quite as bad, but it's almost like a Skylar White thing Because there were so many people that were like, "Oh, Skylar's such a drag to what Walt started to do."
Yeah, but she wasn't. Yeah,
but she wasn't because Walter's a horrible human being.
Yes, but that's
and was doing whatever he wanted to do to put away money for the family, even though he had enough money at one point and could have gotten out, but he didn't.
But that's why I said, why didn't they make Terry talk to Dana? They made what's her name? His best friend,
Max.
They make Max more of his confidant than Dana,
right?
Which is insane. Think how much Dana would have been a part of his life had he tell that secret.
I mean, I see potential as a storyteller there. That's interesting to me, right? That his confidant is her friend.
Yes.
Right? But it's not played with much.
No.
And, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, like there's good teen drama. Like there's good teen drama to be had there. And like, you talking like you in high school talking to the friend of the girl you like.
That wouldn't fly.
Because you're too scared to talk to her.
Yes.
Right. Well, that would, but think about that. That wouldn't fly. Like if your girlfriend got wind of the fact that you were talking to her best friend more than you in high school. People
that's what I'm saying is there's good story drama to have there and they didn't do it. And they didn't take it there.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree that's stuff that they should have mined and done something with. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that Ace was always the more quote unquote attractive
10
idea.
10.
Not Ace.
I'm sorry,
Ace
10.
Ace was the robot.
The dog. I was like, the dog? Really?
No, not Ace.
There were two Aces. One was a dog, and I think one was a robot.
So. Yeah, one's a robot.
Yes.
I'm thinking Royal Flush Gang. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not thinking Ace. I'm not thinking Ace the Bat Hound or or the robot. I meant 10.
Yes.
Sorry.
She definitely seems to be kind of like a Scott and Ramona thing, like the one who's in the same place in life as Terry.
Yes.
Like the one who's going through the same stuff he's going through. And maybe you hope they can go through it together and help each other out. And I remember a gag that kind of exemplified that early on in the first episode when neither of them know what the other's deal is and is when they make plans to meet up.
And both
like Terry rushes in late.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've seen that a million times where Dana's like, why are you late? And like he gets there and he's early and then 10 shows up late.
Right.
And he's like, oh, like this is great.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the screw up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, to me, it's along the lines of when they finally have it's in the Tom DeFalco Ron Friends run of Amazing Spider-Man, where they finally let you know that Mary Jane's known that he's Spider-Man for a long, long time. Right. It's one of those things where you have this moment of like they recount their lives, like all the times that you were late, all the times you blew me off. I knew what was going on.
Right.
And Peter, of course, goes into full on lie mode of like, no, I'm just taking pictures for the Daily Bugle. And I happen to know where he is because we have a working relationship. And then Black Cat comes swinging into his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he can't deny it anymore. And she looks at him with this look. And it's a great panel where she's like, it's all true. I knew it was all true. And then she storms out, and then Black Cat tries to get with Peter. Peter's like, goes after me, goes after. It's like, no. It's one of those things for me where I always thought that, they try to play when again, this is like segueing into what I was thinking about with Spider-Man and Black Cat now. That doesn't really work.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
But it's one of those things where, when Mary Jane reveals that she's known in this thing with Black Cat, one thing that I always thought was odd about the two of them being together was, for a while in the books, Black Cat doesn't want to see him without his mask on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She just wanted to be with Spider-Man. She didn't want to be with Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And it was almost a fetishized thing of, I don't want to see, like there's a couple instances where you're like, no, leave your mask on. And you don't see them get together, but you can tell like when they're together, he's wearing his mask, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was like, an odd thing. I mean, I get the attraction, it's Catwoman, it's Batman. It's fun to, chase after the sultry jewel thief or whatever, she's after whatever cat themed thing she's after. But, it didn't make sense for them to it wasn't going to last. Right.
Right.
So I got a Spider-Man one, and shockingly, it's not Peter and MJ, which I love. I love Peter and MJ. But I'm going to say, so this is from Spectacular Spider-Man, the cartoon, Peter and Liz.
Yeah.
Which kind of comes out of left field, like you're not really expecting it. And it's kind of better than you think it's going to be.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not saying it's not earned. It is earned.
Right.
But it's sort of like it's a relationship you don't see coming.
Sure.
And it's one that you don't expect to like.
It's a nice shout out to the Ditko stuff, because for a minute in the Ditko stuff, it's kind of like, well, maybe Liz Allen's the girl for Peter, and it doesn't really go anywhere.
Right. She's his first crush in like Amazing Fantasy 15 and Amazing Spider-Man #1, but she's pretty terrible because she hangs out in the gang that makes fun of him.
Right.
But he likes her anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and then he kind of likes Betty Brant for a bit.
Right.
Because she's the older girl in the secretary pool or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But like that is I think that is the play they were going for, that Greg Weisman was going for, and that is how Liz starts in Spectacular Spider-Man 2. Like she seems kind of like the shallow, vapid cheerleader, popular one. And then you find out like, no, like this girl's really cool and smart and like, and works hard and like wants to do well. And like, and so you kind of fall for her as Peter does.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And she genuinely really likes Peter. And that's the thing. And it's everything that I wish Dana and Terry was, is Liz and Peter from Spectacular. Like, it's so good, I think. One of my favorite things of that show is that one, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always hard to do the Spider-Man like media if you're not going to jump to MJ, which you shouldn't do because like it feels kind of unnatural. I guess Ultimate Spider-Man jumped pretty quick to MJ and did it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But a lot of times, like you want to have that kind of like, Peter's not having much success or like has relationships that just don't go well for various reasons. And that's a fun part of the character, like the many loves of Dobie Gillis, but Peter Parker, like,
right.
Like you just kind of want to see like what happens with these different people.
Yeah, it's also very much like How I Met Your Mother-ish, where the idea of like, well, everyone, if all you know from like is Peter and MJ,
right?
But how did it get here? So
yeah.
So it's always a difficult line to walk doing Spider-Man media for it to not be MJ and to tell stories with characters that aren't her and to subvert audience expectations. And it's a tricky thing and not everybody does it well, but some people do it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Watch Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah, there's that too.
I have to say it every time it comes back. It comes up. Sorry. It's not coming back.
Keep hope alive.
Yeah.
There's no hope.
God, it's funny though. Man, Frank, you're setting me up so perfectly. It's like How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Barney and Robin. I hate it.
That was on my list too, Zach. I had that one as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Bro code, man. Don't do that.
Well, there's that.
You don't date your friend's girlfriend.
No. Well, there's that, and there's just the idea that it's a terrible pairing to begin with. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. It's kind of for me. It's because the other one that I had that on my list that was kind of like, oh, it's late. It's late in our seasons. What should we possibly do? Oh, I know. Let's pair Joey and Rachel up together.
Yeah.
Right.
Like these are people that could get together.
Right.
But again, that's bro code too there as well. But again, that makes no sense. That pairing makes no sense. But the fact that Robin and Barney had a relationship and they were going to get married never, ever made any sense.
Yeah. It just feels gross for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of those things where I don't know. I can't quite put a finger on why.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't say it's because of who Barney is, right? Because that's very much the point of this relationship, is Barney kind of growing out of that womanizing thing that he was, that he's all about. Right. But it's just, there's just something about it still that like, I didn't see why it had to be Robin.
No.
Well,
they also played up the idea at one point, like they're so similar. And I'm like, in what world are they similar?
Yeah.
There's a little of that stuff too. I'm like, I don't see them being similar at all. Like, I don't see them, the comparison really works. So I always wondered about that too, about why would they, that one never worked for me at all. I never liked that one.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about How I Met Your Mother in general, and it was one of those, I was trying to think of most of the women they pair Ted up with don't really work.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of Zoe, that she's just, again, another one of like, she's just a terrible character. It's not the actress's fault at all, but it was definitely just a terrible thing that never worked on that show.
Interesting. You don't like Zoe.
I don't.
Okay.
No, I do not. I thought Zoe was one of the ones that were just like, no, we could have, it never needed to last as long as it did.
Okay. I don't completely agree, but I'm not going to fight you on it.
Okay, cool. All right then.
Right? Just because it's another one that like, this is kind of the funny thing about the show for me is sometimes like I'm kind of forgiving of relationships if the episode that they come in happens to be really good. I think. And I happen to think that I think Zoe's in a good bunch of episodes, like episodes that happen to be well done.
Okay.
Right. And so I think that that's possibly what's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me.
Okay.
For that. But I mean, but I feel like within story, they're not right for each other. And I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, but Barney and Robin,
glaringly bad.
You know, I don't know that there's any good episodes with them together, aside from the one of Ted teaching the class about Robin to Barney, because
which is just bizarre.
It is bizarre, but it's just a funny setup, I think.
Right.
You know, but he shouldn't want to do that.
No, not at all.
You should be mad, Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any more good ones? We got to have some more good ones. There's love all over media. You got any more, Frank?
The ones that I like?
Yeah.
I had a lot of ones I didn't like. That's why it was like, really? I'm stuck. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a fair amount of ones that I was like, this doesn't quite work.
Do you have any more you don't like?
That I don't like?
Or did we run through all your list?
No, I mean, well, one that I thought of, and this is kind of left field because we don't really talk about the show ever or much, or maybe I think I'm the only one that's talked about the show on the show, was I was always disappointed that they decided on Modern Family to allow Haley to end up with Dylan.
Which one is Dylan?
Dylan's like her high school boyfriend, the dim one that plays music, is in a band.
Oh, the really stupid one?
Yeah, like I like episodes with right.
Oh, she gets with him?
I like it, but like here's the thing: I like episodes with him in it, where it's kind of like, he's the dullard that she shouldn't be with. I like those episodes. I think those episodes are great because they show so much why they shouldn't be together.
Yeah,
you know. And then they set it up with what's his name?
Adam Devine.
Adam Devine. They set him up with Andy. You know, he's the Manny for Jay and Gloria. For Joe, he's the Manny, and then they slowly start to build this thing between the two of them, and it's good. Like here's the thing: I never watched Modern Family in order. Like I've seen it all out of order, so I always had that idea of like I finally saw like why they don't end up together is because he goes back to, you know, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or Minnesota, or wherever the hell Andy's from. But yeah, I had the same reaction of because they go on like she ends up like hooking up with Dylan because she's with some guy. She has a really smart, brainy boyfriend for a while. That doesn't work out. And then she finds out she ends up hooking up with Dylan and then they have twins together. And that's that's her fate is she ends up with dumb Dylan.
I'm so mad now.
Sorry. I didn't mean to ruin it for you. I just thought
I agree with you. Like I like that he's there for that reason of you're so clearly wrong for each other.
Right.
And you have to go. You're not supposed to marry that guy.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, they do a nice bit of without like making it really weird or creepy or hitting too hard. They had the idea that much like, you know, she's much like Claire was when she was younger. She's kind of wild, and that Phil comes along and he's goofy, but they bring out the best in each other, and they do that. Like the characters definitely do that for each other. You know, Andy and Haley do that for each other. And then I don't know if he had to go like do something else, like he was making movies or you know he was on Workaholics or whatever. Right. And couldn't be on the other seasons. That's why he got written out. But it's definitely set up the idea that no, their relationship is very much like her parents were, and it works. And he definitely makes her better, and she makes him better. And then it feels they don't, you know, he's just gone. And then, you know, like I said, she's with some other, like she's with Nathan Fillion.
Much better. Oh.
She's with Nathan Fillion at one point.
Damn it, guys! I'm really mad.
So yeah, that's one that I can't. I hate the idea that she ends up with Dylan. It bothers me to this day. It still bothers me. So.
You just ruined the whole show for Zach.
Sorry, man. Now you don't need to watch it. So
you're not supposed to marry him. That's
no.
Stupid. That's
I
terrible.
Agree. It is terrible. It's awful. It's because then the thing was is like they start to like try and play it up that he's getting his life together and he's like Phil, and I'm like, no, Phil is goofy and Phil is like sentimental. You know, and he's a nerd, but it's not like he's a moron. Right. And Dylan is clearly an idiot. So that's why I was like, no, there's no reason why the two of them should be together.
Yeah.
Because he just makes her dumber in every scene that they're in together. He just makes her stupid. So Nope. Hate it.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's too bad. I'm trying to end on a high note. I'm trying to end on a good one.
Sorry.
And so I'll throw it out to you guys. So I feel like I'm the only one here that watched Mad About You.
No, I watched it.
So I got Paul and Jamie, which I
That's a
love,
good one.
but I also got Kelly and Zach.
Okay. As a good one or a bad one?
No, it's a good one. I love them together.
Okay.
I love them together. I mean, I like the episodes when it's like sort of she could be with Zach or Slater, but like no, I like it.
But not the Jeff episodes. You don't like the Jeff episodes.
I hate Jeff. Burn in hell, Jeff. And your perfect hair. But no, okay. So Frank, so okay. Spot me here. I'm Mad About You. So
I will try.
Yeah. It's hard to put into words. I just think like it's really the show. I mean, the show is their relationship completely. Like,
sure.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's not like that's the point of the show is newlyweds navigating marriage.
Everything really.
Yeah, everything. and it's just it's weirdly, it's not realistic, but it's familiar at the same time.
Sure. It's an, it's a sitcom, so it's an exaggerated look at newlywed life.
Yeah. And it is like movie love too and stuff like that. Like it is kind of fantastical and things that but like I said, like you watch it and weirdly like it feels familiar. Like even though like that exact moment, it's sort of like the emotion that they're having in that scene, even though it's not set up the same way that you would have encountered in your own life, but like you felt that moment, right? Or because I did watch this a lot as a single guy, this is like therapy. I watched it a lot, like in my single days too. It's like, but you also like you yearn for that moment too, right?
Sure.
I feel like I'm on a couch. I feel like I'm laying down on a couch.
Oh, they have a very, they have a pretty idealized, relationship.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to negotiate, their differences and stuff, as newlyweds. But yeah, I mean, there are a couple that I buy. That's the other thing too about that show. That show doesn't work if you don't buy them as a couple.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If you don't buy their story, or how they got together, how they met, all that stuff, it doesn't work. And I think that show works, beautifully as that stuff.
The episode where they meet is like one of my favorite half hours of TV ever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that episode from season 1. It's a flashback episode in season 1. Yeah, so good. Okay, good. So we ended on a good one. I'm happy. This is good. This is good for Valentine's Day.
Right.
All right. So to close out, so we're all going to go around. We're going to say a relationship that we are shipping. So it's one that we didn't see that we would like to have seen. But first, if you like the show, you can check out all of our episodes on YouTube and letmeknowhowitis.com. Just please, however you find us, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Finally, if there's anything you would like us to discuss, you can leave a topic suggestion on Twitter or in the comments. Our Twitter handle is our show's initials at LMKHII. Okay. All right. Who are we shipping?
Link and Zelda.
Okay. This is an essay question. Why?
Oh my God. They get reincarnated to stop the forces of evil every time. Kiss already. They both would live and die for one another.
Are they Hawkman and Hawkgirl? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and they ship them.
Of course they do. That's like their whole bit.
Yeah, and it's weird when they're not together, right?
Sure.
So Link and Zelda.
There's always like a will they, won't they in every game.
In every game.
And in Breath of the Wild, like you as part of the quest, you find her diaries throughout the game. And she's like talking about like how she hates Link at first.
Right.
And then she's like, oh, but he seems all right. And then by the end, like she's into him.
It's kind of weird.
It's like that a lot. It happens over and over.
Over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
They're betrothed. Oh my God. It doesn't matter who gets what. They're always going to be together. Kiss already.
Gotcha.
They just need a happy ending game. A game that's all just them like hanging out.
Yes.
going to the equivalent of Hyrule's melt shop.
Yep.
Yes.
Go to sock ops.
I would play that game.
Yeah, see?
I'm sure you would.
People are waiting on it.
Mm.
Okay. I'm weirdly, I'm gonna say Sokka and Toph from Last Airbender.
Okay.
It's not a bad one.
You're not alone in that, I feel.
No, I don't think I am either. And a little conflicted about it because I love Sokka and Suki. I love them together. They may be my favorite relationship in the whole show, but what there are moments in the show where I'm like, Toph, like, clearly's into Sokka, right?
Right.
On top of the fact that that all the girls are into Sokka, it seems. Right.
Right. I remember the one gag specifically where she thinks it's him that saves her from drowning, and then it's not, and she's disappointed.
Right. Yeah. And so that's just something I've imagined. I always thought that she was into him. And it's a conversation I would have liked to have seen on the show.
Yeah.
I would have liked them to navigate with that. Not necessarily even get them together, but just to put it out there, I think would have been fun to play with.
Yeah, I like that one. I think that one works.
Cool. All right. So you co-sign on Sokka and Toph. I don't know what would be the Soph.
Taka.
I think Taka works better. Taka's a good one.
I'm sure there's a hashtag out there for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Taka. I got one.
Okay.
And we saw it like flirted with in various places. And it's one of those things where I still think it'd be a cool idea to see. And I think even as recently as like the death metal stuff, someone like, I think Snyder did something with it because there was a future kid that was produced.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked the idea, and I can't remember which came first, whether it was Just League Unlimited or whether it was in Joe Kelly's JLA, where it was the idea of Batman and Wonder Woman together.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why that one is more palatable to me much more than Superman and Wonder Woman is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Justice League Unlimited, it's the point where they're in I think they're in Gorilla City, right? Where it first starts, where he's afraid that she got hurt, if that's what it is. He's digging through the wreckage and she's okay. Is that what I'm remembering that scene?
Possibly.
Like he's freaking out and she's like, you know, kind of like, dude, I'm Wonder Woman.
Right.
Or it might be the other way around. I can't remember which it is. But I don't think it's her for him. I think and then they have the kiss in Starcrossed, right? The kiss in Starcrossed.
Yeah, it's an awesome bit. I like that when they're hiding out in the restaurant and they're in civilian clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the secret identity, meeting.
Yeah.
And then they have, of course, it's like, it ends up, I think This Little Piggy is the last time where they really talk about it.
When he sings the song to save her.
Mm-hmm. Right. And there's that too, where you get that great moment of him singing Am I Blue?
Classic.
Yeah, I love that. And then there's the same thing in Joe Kelly's run. There's a fair amount of teasing it until it finally culminates. I think it's like issue 80, where basically they have there's a whole, like a bunch of different alternate futures that are quickly shown, like of how it could possibly be for the two of them if they were together. The cover just has like the two hands of them, their two hands kind of like reaching for each other, and that's all you see.
Okay, yeah.
But it's it's something that I think could have worked at DC if they did it for a while, but they just it was kind of like, yeah, we flirted with it like they do, and then nothing comes of it.
Tom King flirts with it for a second too, for an arc, right? Which Frank, you and I have talked. It's the Horde,
right?
Whatever that is, 3 issues or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like them together. I think it's a fun. It's a fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, works better than you would think it would.
Yeah, it does for me especially. So.
Yeah. Did you get one, Clifton?
I'm circling back to Batman Beyond in 10 because that's what I had planned before we ended up talking about it in the episode.
Oh, okay. I stole your thunder. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. We can talk about it plenty for me.
Right.
But it's the thing, like, I don't know if I would have made Terry and 10 endgame material in relationship, but like I definitely would have liked to have seen how it played out more than the couple episodes where we got it.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen it last for a little bit and see it, the strengths and weaknesses of it play out.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's where I would like Terry to be a little bit more like Peter. And I think that Terry should have dated other girls
Mm.
along the way too. Again, not that I dislike Dana, it's
Right.
not it, but it's also like, you know, that's the time. That's the time when you have a bunch of crushes, like you know,
Right.
yeah.
And it is a weird thing where like the archetypes for Batman Beyond are Batman and Spider-Man, and that doesn't fall into either of them.
Right.
Because Batman always had, like quick flings, very quick flings, with a few that would come and go, like Catwoman and Talia, that were the forbidden thing. And Peter Parker had a bunch before Mary Jane.
Right.
Yeah. All good ones. All good ones. Yep. I'll co-sign on that too. I would love to see that. I just love her character too. I love Melanie. She's great. She's a great design too.
Yeah.
All right. Be sure to tweet us or tell us your thoughts in the comments. Which couples did we forget? Who do you ship? Let us know. We want to hear from you. As always, we'll post links and examples to everything we talk about on letmeknowhowitis.com. Please remember to like us and follow us on social media. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.